Hey guys, Al here, Vitalize Seed. So I asked some guys, what are some things you'd like me to cover? I appreciate everybody following along, sharing, subscribing. It really means a lot, and I appreciate this gentleman on The Ohio Outdoors sharing this question. So basically, you can read this if you'd like. The question is about, what if I have a small area or a small food plot, limited equipment? How do I get started? So there's a few things you want to do there. Number one, we want to make sure that the area is getting adequate sunlight. So that's first and foremost. Number two is we want to understand seeding rates. So if we're doing a no-till situation, and let's say we have a half acre, I don't necessarily recommend an acre of seed, but I certainly recommend more than the half acre. Typically those recommendations, if somebody says a half acre, that's in perfect or ideal settings. So no-till drill, if you're totally fitting a field or preparing a field and putting it down, etc. So if you're doing no-till, as far as no-till broadcasting methods, I would increase seeding rates a little bit. If you buy an acre, my tip, if it's possible, depends, everybody's situation is different, timing is different. I like to put down a half acre worth of seed on that half acre and then bump up about 25%. I then like to come back about 2-3 weeks later and touch up any spots just lightly, even if it's just by hand on a small area, just to fill in those gaps. The other things you want to keep in mind, guys, soil test. That's going to give you, fertility, makeup. It'll allow us to understand, pH, etc. So soil test. Decide what methods are you comfortable with. Are you comfortable using herbicide? If you're comfortable using herbicide and you have a half acre field, there's vegetation growing there, you simply can burn that down, is the term, using a non-selective herbicide like glyphosate. Burn that field down with the Roundup or glyphosate and then seed into it. You can mow afterwards or roll that vegetation, or you can simply seed into the standing vegetation while it's it will die very soon after. You can plant the same day as long as it's just make sure that it's a 41% glyphosate or higher and no additional additives. You don't want to have anything that's going to be ground active or residual impact. Simply seed into that and let that vegetation naturally. It's going to die. It's going to dry out. It's going to fall over, and those young seedlings are going to grow. The other things you want to keep in mind. Exclusion fence. I see a list a lot. So this gentleman mentions it's green and then it goes away. So an exclusion fence is going to help because it's going to tell you about browse pressure. One of the things that happens is sometimes guys will say, oh, my food plot isn't attractive anymore. Well, the reason is the deer or turkeys, mostly deer in most food plots, have ate everything that you had there. So only thing that is going to persist is some weeds that are in the seed bank. And the deer might pick on some of them, and some of them they're not going to be highly desirable. So that's something else. You want to have a clear understanding. Making exclusion fence, you understand what the deer have actually removed off of that food plot. And if they're constantly removing everything on there, you either shoot more deer, plant more food, or sometimes both. The other item you want to keep in mind, now I'm biased, obviously I'm going to recommend our fall carbon load, but you do want to make sure you're using a good quality seed mix. So in the case of this gentleman using a fall food plot, you want attractiveness in the fall. You don't want to just go buy, throw and grow off a shelf. Number one, a lot of times that seed germination is heavily reduced because it's been sitting on a shelf for a long time, sometimes years. I've seen some crazy old stamps on seed tags. Number two is the makeup of the seed. So the seed tag is like the nutrition facts, right? We want to make sure that we're getting good quality grains and good quality brassicas and good quality clovers, etc. So if you're looking for something that's going to be plantable in the fall or late summer, in the early fall, it's going to feed deer and wildlife all fall and then into the next year, you want to use something like our carbon load. It has grains, it has buckwheat, it has annual clovers, it has brassicas, etc. It is going to be good and handle a ton of browse because of the clovers and the grains and all this diversity from the time it's planted clear up through the next spring when it greens up, and it'll grow 5 foot plus tall with that rye and everything else coming back to life in the spring, which turkeys love the rye and the vetch and the annual clovers that next spring. So how would I go about doing this? Step one, soil test. Step two, termination, either physical or herbicide. Step three, seed, get a good quality seed, and I'd bump up my seeding rate a little bit. And step four, I'd pray for rain, I'd analyze, I'd make sure I have an exclusion fence up, and I'd observe as to what I need to do the next year to make it even better. So hopefully that helps you out, guys. Quick step on how to do a small no-till food plot. If you have additional questions, please ask, share, subscribe, vitalizeseed.com.